Someone tried to prove me wrong in a business deal using AI. It backfired badly. The reason it backfired is the most important lesson I can give you about AI and about business. It's also the reason why a lot of these young founders that run agencies and whatnot are gonna be set up to fail. This is a real story. It happened to me when I was moving my businesses from Australia over to Russia, and this is an industry that I've been a part of for the last 15 years. My name is Volko. I own a number of brands, including a sports nutrition brand, in addition to an AI business, in addition to owning retail stores, two of them, which is probably my hardest lesson to learn as far as business goes and my most expensive. So let me share my story with you. Let me tell you exactly what happened. All right, let me set the scene. So about October, November last year, I got an invitation to this federation thing, right? And it's a great federation, really well run, amazing concepts behind it, really well-oiled machine, to the point where I actually got involved as a sponsor for Australia. Now, the actual federation itself, flawless. So, me moving to Russia, I realized, you know what, I could probably do this over there, get some Russian representation, etc., etc. Seemed to be doing well. The owner of the federation was quite happy with me jumping in, but he had one caveat, right? There was another federation president, and every president gets a country or territory, right? Now, this particular president, he wanted to take on the Russian market, although he had no Russian language, no Russian skills, no Russian bank accounts, no Russian status, zero, nada, nil, right? And when you hear that, and somebody's asking you to do something for them, especially when they have no cards to play with, start thinking to yourself, well, what's the point of having you, right? Now, this guy, his pitch was basically I would be under him on some level and subcontract the contract for Russia, which effectively would give me no legal status, no legal protection, and it would effectively mean that the intellectual property for the region would be mostly governed by him and not by me, who would be doing all the work. Now, to anyone that understands all the nuances of IP and all that stuff, you understand this is a terrible deal and you wouldn't go for it, right? And I couldn't quite understand one particular thing. And this is where that overconfidence comes in, right? That overconfidence of thinking you know something because you put it into ChatGPT. Apart from all the obvious hurdles you need to jump through when you start a business, one of the very first and logical hurdles is registering a company. Easy, right? What you do is you put into Google, hey, I want to register a company in Russia. It'll give you all the nuances. Now, there's a few things that you people need to understand when listening to this. A lot of the information that Google presents is outdated. It's prior to 2022. A lot has changed, and those changes aren't necessarily updated on the back end. Now, if you understand what ChatGPT is, what Claude is, they're a LLM, which is a language learning model. That means it effectively can scrub the internet and get context of different ideas and whatnot, and then kind of build that out to you in a conversation piece, which is what he did. It's like, Volko, we can open a company. I'm like, this is the thing. This is when you have been in business for a long time and you know exactly the field you're playing in. I didn't respond back. I didn't want to fight it, because to get into that kind of argument, you're already having to not only fight for a concept which if you don't really want, you're not going to get. But here's the thing. By fighting with them, you would inadvertently have to give them the information that you know. So if you don't really want it, why give it to him, right? So he was under the impression, well, ChatGPT told him, I can start an OO, which to anyone listening is the equivalent of an LLC or a Pty Ltd, depending on the region you're from. And I remember sitting in the meeting and I was just like, sure, go ahead. Go right ahead. Now, what are the nuances of starting an OOO in Russia? Can a foreigner open an OOO in Russia? 1,000% yes. Yes, you can. You can open an OOO. But it goes in deeper. So in order to get an OOO, in order to be the director, you have to have status, so some sort of Russian status. So you would have to have a VNG, which is a permanent residency. You would also have to have a tax file number, and you would also have to have a bank account. Now, all these things require status. For status, you also have to get into the country and apply for status, which is a whole separate ballgame. So before you could even walk through the door, you have a laundry list of things which are significantly difficult to do, because you're saying, hey, I want to establish a presence in a foreign country. Now, let's also keep in mind of the current geopolitical situation in Russia. You have bank accounts that are cut off, so you're not on the SWIFT system. So you would have to learn how to not only transfer money between two disconnected entities, you would also have to understand the legalities of doing such things. You would also need a float. You can't start a business in Russia if you don't have a float. So how are you going to bring that money in? If you can only bring in $10,000 at a time, how are you going to do it? So as you can see, whole list of check requirements before even starting the business. And this is where it comes in with AI and these founders. These young founders that we see on Instagram, these young founders that we see on social media. Follow me for more, comment whatever it is, I'll send you the list. And you go on their list, and it's usually a link to signing up for their course, which is apparently going to teach you about business and AI. I've looked at a few of them. I've looked at a few of these courses, and they're very much the same generic copycat type of thing. There's very few people in that space, especially the young kids, that understand business and the nuances behind business. And if they did, they wouldn't be releasing these courses because, well, they would understand that a lot of the information they're trying to provide, especially the way to operate business, is completely different than what, let's say, a learning language model will tell you, because it requires nuance. It requires, as a lot of you understand this word, context. Now, these context files, let's call them, are experience. They're experience that only comes with winning, losing, winning, losing, winning, losing, winning, 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 losing, winning, 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 losing, right? So these young guys need to understand, just like this particular gentleman did, you can't rely on AI to give you all the answers from the get-go. You have to dig deeper. You have to understand what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to achieve. And to get back to the story, this particular founder, this particular gentleman, whatever we want to call him, he's actually a good guy, but still there is no presence here in Russia with that federation. And now I could go ahead now and obviously jump on it, but for me, this is where business experience comes in again. If you were put in a position to compete against someone who wanted to effectively run a free paycheck off you, then what you do is you assess the situation, step back, because the reality is when you hold the cards and you understand the landscape, you're able to pivot in ways which they cannot. You could, for example, in this particular situation, start your own federation as easily as you could apply to anyone else. It doesn't matter. All the helping points, all the helping aids are different from country to country. And that's another thing that is very important with business. You have to understand that no two places are the same. That people have different ideologies, and the way they do business is very different. The way you deal with someone from China will be a little bit different than how you deal with someone from Russia. Someone from Germany will be a little bit different than someone from Australia. The way you talk, the cadence, the way you push for things, the legitimate genuineness you have to have needs to be different based on your environment. So once again, it comes back to experience. These young founders, they'll look at a couple of YouTube videos, a couple of YouTube courses and whatnot, if that at all nowadays, and they'll start regurgitating these talking points without understanding why these talking points existed in the first place. And if you don't understand why those talking points existed in the first place, it means you haven't felt them. It's very, very different when you, for example, you sign a lease for a retail store, right? And let's say a good retail lease in Australia will cost you somewhere about $10,000 a month, right? That's before GST. And for you to have that pressure on yourself means you must succeed, because those leases are iron tight, right? You're not going to just get out of them that easily. You have to succeed. So before you start making profits, before you can even take anything home, you have a whole world of hurt ahead of you. That world of hurt is a teacher. It teaches you how to manage properly. It teaches you certain things about investing, how much money at what times. You also have to understand different seasons, peak season versus dead season. How much do you order for this particular period versus this period? Let's say if your creditors have 2-month credit terms, how do you structure your pay cycles and your cash flow so you're not left in the dark when it does come to peak season? All these micro nuances, it's very difficult for you to learn if you're a young kid and your entire business model has been, putting together a PDF on a school thing, and you're gonna post it out there, and that's your entire distribution model. Like, when you have to make something like this, from the smallest factors, the lid has to come from one shop, the label from another. If you want to make it look different or unique, the way the capsule looks has to be, unique versus the competition. It's to make you stand out, and for you to stand out, you might not even succeed. You might have a crazy product, a great product, but you might not succeed. That's because there are so many people trying to compete with you, and these people know business because they're going through the same things you are, right? And that's once again where a lot of these young kids, they're just basically going for the I call it the shit in the wall approach, which is, let's throw as many emails out there, and hopefully one idiot is going to say yes, and then they're going to sell them some bullshit, and they're not going to get her attention, and then before you know it, 6 months later, they have to close down whatever they've tried. Probably didn't learn too much because the goal wasn't for them to learn, it was for them to try make money quickly. And I get the allure of making money quickly, I understand, but it's never gonna get you the result you want. So my advice, this is really the point I want to make for this video. My advice to young entrepreneurs, I want you to understand this video is not to deter you or to make you feel bad about what you're doing. No, in fact, it's the opposite. I love the fact that there are so many more young people now that are saying, you know what, I'm going to work for myself, I'm going to run my own business, I'm going to go out there and give it a good shot. It's the best thing you can do. You're going to have freedom. Freedom's amazing. But I think some of you guys are jumping the gun a little bit too quick. You're trying to sell it to the upper end before you even understand what the upper end is. My genuine advice is start small. Instead of doing these, $5,000 offers, do small runs, $200-$300. Don't offer the full package for that, obviously. Start small, start manageable, start little bites. You're doing little jobs, which will then be able to be converted into bigger jobs. And if you're able to do little jobs for a client, let's say they're a bigger client, eventually it's a lot easier for you to then give them a bigger task and a bigger commission and a bigger structure because they build trust with you and rapport. It's a lot easier to sell to someone who's already bought from you than it is a brand new client you've never met, and you have to introduce them to yourself and make them trust you. It's very, very difficult. So, young guns, take your time, build small, get your offer in there that is a small offer, it's a manageable offer. It's not something that you can screw up too bad. It's enough where you're learning, I guess, the better stuff, and you're also adding value to the business, because ultimately, guys, that's what this whole business thing is about. It's about adding some value to someone else's life. Now, this other point is super important. It's gonna set you apart from any other person that hasn't watched this. Every business owner has one want, and I know what you're thinking, make money. Yeah, but not really. It's the ability to have a problem solved for them without them having to do extra work to solve the problem. They want you to come to them. I got this problem for you. I found out what you're doing. I'm going to fix it for you. I'm going to sort it out. Give me 2 weeks. I'm going to have it fixed for you. And if you don't pay me. You tell that to someone, all right, well, fucking, it's, win-win situation, right? You get a problem solved, they get a paycheck, and you made yourself a client. That's exactly how it should be working. And this is the other thing, guys. Like, these kind of offers you don't see them, and you also don't see it in the marketing world or the coaching world. The reason you don't see these offers is because no one really tells you how to start from the start, right? You're gonna get a lot of DMs and a lot of people trying to teach you stuff. They're like, you know what? Only work with businesses that are doing 30,000 a month, 20,000 a month. If you sign up to almost any form, it's like, well, how much are you making? How much is your business making a month? They won't even talk to you if you're making like under $1,000. But the thing is, those that under 1,000 categories where everyone is, right? Like 90% of startups are in that category. They're brand new. They're not making much revenue. They're trying to work it out. Now, the reason these guys aren't coaching them about that particular point is because they haven't gone through it themselves. They don't know how to get to 30 grand. They've never done it before. How are they going to teach you? So that's what I'm saying, guys. Start slow. Start slow. Learn on the job. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't learn on the job at the expense of someone else. Don't make them pay for your learning. Make sure you're offering them a good solution. You're offering them value and get paid at the same time. They're happy, you're happy. That is how good business works, and that is how you should be operating. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this first video. I really do. I love talking about this. It's passionate, I guess. You know, it's about helping people while also making good money. It's two very important things. You have to feel good when you go to bed at night. If you guys enjoyed the video, I invite you to click the like button below. I invite you to subscribe, and I invite you to leave a comment. Have you ever had anyone help you start from the ground? And if you haven't, I want you to ask me your questions down below on how to start from zero. Not from 10,000, whatever, from zero. If you're starting out, put your questions down below, and I'm going to try and answer them as best as I can. Thank you once again, guys.